The ancient Egyptians were well known for many things, including their mummies. Ooh!
This is why we have no toilet paper left? What could be more fun than learning about the pyramids, hidden treasures, and famous rulers? It's all included in this episode on ancient Egypt.
Learning can be fun! If you like learning in exciting and engaging ways, then Talking Study Guides is for you! I'm Mr. C, and let's get started.
Around 5,000 years ago, on the continent of Africa, ancient Egypt started along the banks of the Nile River. Ancient Egypt grew into a powerful civilization that helped shape the world as we know it today.
In addition to the Nile River, Egypt was close to a couple other bodies of water. The Mediterranean Sea lay to the north of Egypt, and the Red Sea lay to the east. The Egyptians used these bodies of water to trade across, to get resources from, and as natural barriers from outside invaders.
The first rulers of Egypt were referred to as kings and queens, but as time passed, ancient Egyptian rulers became known as pharaohs, which is often the term we now use to describe all of the past rulers of ancient Egypt.
Ancient Egypt had many famous pharaohs that were men and women. Some of the most famous were Cleopatra, King Ramses II, and the boy king, King Tut. After they died, most pharaohs were mummified. Now, I don't want to bury you in information, but let's talk a little bit more about what mummification really means.
The ancient Egyptians believed that when someone died, they would journey to their afterlife. To prepare for this, the Egyptians wanted the bodies of their recently deceased to be kept intact and as lifelike as possible. The bodies were carefully preserved through an extensive process, which included wrapping the body in linen and then carefully placing the body in a special coffin called a sarcophagus. Not everyone in ancient Egypt was mummified because it was such an elaborate and expensive process.
Wealthy Egyptians were often buried with things like treasures, food, and amulets. Amulets were believed to ward off evil spirits and would protect the people's souls.
Some pharaohs were even buried with their beloved pets. Cats were a very popular pet to have, and the ancient Egyptians viewed cats as being sacred, especially black cats, which were thought to keep evil spirits away.
In addition to millions of people that were mummified, millions of pets were mummified too. I know. Interesting, right?
The Egyptians believed that their deceased could use the items that they were buried with in their afterlife. If they were buried with their pets, they believed that they would be reunited with them as well. To protect the bodies of former Egyptian rulers, pyramids were built to act as tombs. The largest pyramid ever built is called the Pyramid of Giza, which is nearly 500 feet tall and made with over 2 million stone blocks. The amazing thing is that much of it is still intact today.
In 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter made perhaps one of the greatest discoveries of all time. He is credited with finding the tomb of King Tut. King Tut's tomb lay untouched for over 3,000 years, and what he found inside was quite incredible.
The tomb contained Egyptian artwork, precious treasures, and even a chariot. If that wasn't enough, King Tut's coffin was made out of solid gold.
If you're willing to see a mummy up close and personal, you can take a trip to the Natural History Museum located in Washington, D.C. There you can learn about Egyptian culture and see real-life mummies brought over all the way from Egypt. What's more, the museum is completely free to get into. The mummies and pyramids of ancient Egypt tend to fascinate people. But ancient Egypt was also very advanced for its time, and they were credited with many major inventions. Let's take a look at a few of them.
Hieroglyphics are a form of writing using pictures. The Egyptians created a very complex system in which they used hieroglyphics. Pictures or characters were used to represent sounds. The papyrus plant is a thick plant that grew along the Nile River, and it still grows there today. The ancient Egyptians used the plant to make many things, including baskets, sandals, and most importantly, a type of paper that they called papyrus.
Papyrus is a much thicker material that we're used to writing on today. As a matter of fact, the word paper came from the word papyrus. Here's a couple examples of Egyptian work that's written on papyrus.
Because deserts made up most of their land, the ancient Egyptians were extremely dependent on the Nile River. Every year the Nile would flood and it would leave behind water and minerals that helped the growth of the Egyptian crops. The Egyptians built irrigation systems in order to help divert water to where they needed it to go. To help the Egyptians determine when the Nile would flood each year, the Egyptians developed a calendar that had 365 days. Later on, an extra day was added every 4th year to synchronize the Earth's orbit around the sun. We call the years that have 366 days leap years.
We have to give the Egyptians the credit for the calendars that we still use today. So the next time you circle a date on your cute kitten calendar, you can give credit to the Egyptians.
Although much time has passed since pharaohs ruled the lands of ancient Egypt, much of Egyptian culture has been left behind for us to learn from today. Considering their age, many of the pyramids are still in remarkable condition. Papyrus is still used in a variety of ways, and the Nile River remains Egypt's biggest source of water.
One thing that I find fascinating is that discoveries are still being made in Egypt to this day. We have to look at the ancient Egyptian culture as a culture that's still being uncovered and learned from. There may be some things about ancient Egypt that we may never know. Okay, friends, it's your turn to rise up and see how you do on these 3 questions on ancient Egypt. Good luck!
Question 1. Ancient Egyptian rulers of the past are called what? If you said pharaohs, you're correct. Question 2. Mummies were often buried with food, treasures, and what? Is it soap, video games, or amulets? If you said amulets, you're correct. These were objects thought to bring good fortune and keep away evil spirits. Question 3. The word paper was derived from the word pyramid, hieroglyphics, or papyrus. The word paper came from the word papyrus, which was both a plant and a form of paper used by the ancient Egyptians. Great job!
Friends, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you enjoyed our episode about ancient Egypt.
Mr. Mummy, you're headed to the store to get more toilet paper, and don't get the cheap stuff.